Welcome everyone, you're listening to Nephology, the podcast dedicated to crypto, accounting, business, finance and much, much more. I'm Joe David, the founder of Nephos Group in Minor. Please note that all conversations recorded are professional opinions, and if you'd like to know more or gain support, please reach out to the team directly. Now on to the next episode. Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Nephology podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Piero today.
Hello.
Piero, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
You seem very bubbly today, which is lovely to see.
Yep.
So I trust you had a wonderful weekend in the gorgeous Dubai.
I did, and I had a cookie. I had 2 cookies this morning, so feeling double happy.
I've just necked a cup of coffee, so I'm sure we're going to be bouncing off the wall by the end of this.
Sugar rush and caffeine, perfect mix.
So, Piero,
yes.
Why don't you tell our listeners who you are, your brief kind of story and how you got here?
So you want to put the listeners to sleep straight away?
The what?
You want to put the listeners to sleep straight away?
Exactly.
Fantastic. So I'm Piero Ladhur. I'm currently living in Dubai. I moved here 12 weeks ago now to expand a company called Binderr. A little bit about myself. So ethnically, I'm half Italian, half Indian. I was born and raised in London, England. Spent my whole life there until I went to university where I read economics and finance. Was going to go down the investment banking route, but then actually decided to join or start my own startup. And that was actually, we were going to be basically Coin Mina, but for Kazakhstan.
Okay.
Self-funded until we ran out of funding. And after that, I decided to join Bloomberg as I had an offer there. And I loved it. I really did enjoy Bloomberg.
What did you do at Bloomberg?
Sales, key account manager. What was great there is I got a lot of exposure speaking to important people, for lack of a better way to put it. And I got the opportunity to work with our oldest client and second largest, so that was Bank of America.
Wow.
Across London, Paris. I also spent time in Zurich working with other clients. So I was there. I was flown out to Zurich the day Credit Suisse collapsed.
Wow.
Which was a
but
story.
That was interesting. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Bloomberg, but I missed the startup feel. I didn't feel that big corporate was fully for me. So I had an offer to join a small company called B2B, which was a growth consultancy business. Now, in that business, we worked with a number of different businesses in terms of giving them a go-to-market strategy. So that's essentially a mix of marketing and sales. And we did that for, like I said, a number of small B2B businesses. And I did that for a while, but that was fully remote. And what brought me here to Dubai is earlier this year, it got to a point where I'd been working remote for 6, 7, 8 months. And as you can tell, I'm a fairly social person. I like meeting people face to face, having those coffees, having those cookies. And
you like meeting people, they don't necessarily feel the same about you.
Your words, not mine. And so I left. So the story of how I got this current role is Binderr actually offered me a head of marketing role, and I politely declined because head of marketing is behind the computer all day, and that's something I could not do. About 2 months later, I saw that Binderr signed a partnership with Seed Mina. For those who don't know, Seed Mina is part of the private office of the Sheikh of Dubai, so bin Ahmed Al Maktoum. And I saw this partnership, and that really sparked a renewed interest in me.
What was it about that partnership that sparked that? Was it there's some ambition here from this company?
Absolutely. It's not just ambition, but it's serious ambition. That's a serious partner. To partner with the private office of the Sheikh of bin Ahmed Al Maktoum is a big thing. For those who don't know, so Seed Group, they partner with a select number of businesses, typically one per niche, and help them expand into the region. and they do it with leading tech. So I saw this partnership, and I saw that they didn't have anyone leading that expansion into the Middle East. And I wanted to expand them because I figured I've done lots of go-to-market work in terms of assisting many businesses. I really miss the face-to-face. I miss selling in corporate boardrooms. I told you this last week, right? And I thought, how do I get back into that position? And so I met the founders. It was like a Thursday morning at like 8 a.m. Exposed brick coffee shop in Shoreditch.
Nice.
There's a barista with blue hair that made an amazing coffee. And I met the founders and I said, look, you're expanding into the Middle East. You have this partnership. Do you have anyone leading this expansion? To which they replied, no. And I did my research, as I always do. And I saw that at the end of that month, this a few months back, they had a corporate event going on in Malta because they're a Maltese company. So it's a bit ballsy, but I said to the founders, I said, look, you've got this corporate event going on. I'm so confident I'm the right person for this. I'm going to fly myself to Malta, put myself up in a hotel, and show you that I'm the right person for this job. I'm going to show you that I'm not just good at like a 1 hour interview, because it's hard to judge someone for a full business partnership just on that.
100%.
I'll show you, I'll spend a week with you and then decide. And I've now been in Dubai for 12 weeks. So that's the very brief high level.
And that's an amazing story as well for people where, people say, well, I tried and didn't succeed, or, I spoke to these guys for half an hour and they didn't do anything else after that. And, you look at that and you, like you said, you backed yourself in the interview first and foremost, but then you backed yourself even further to say, do you know what, I'm going to come on this corporate event and I'm going to show you that I'm the right person, not just, as an individual that can answer good questions, but also not socially, but, culturally is the word I'm trying to think of, right? That I will be a good cultural fit for your business and you'll be able to see the skills that I have. So, like you say, you're here, you're working for Binderr. So
yes, I am.
So it obviously works.
The writing's on the wall.
It obviously works. So, is that something, obviously not everyone's in a position, and people will be watching and say not everyone's in a position to pay to go to Malta, to pay to go in a hotel, which I'm not saying is, significant money, but some people don't have
That's
that.
true.
But that is a key takeaway, I think, for people that if you want it hard enough, go and get it.
I agree.
Go and take it.
Well, I was lucky. They did actually pay for the hotel in the end.
Oh, okay.
But
that's not a fun part. It makes
semantics. It makes the story sound less fun.
It makes the story less important.
I offered.
Here's a question though. Did they pay for it after, or did they pay for it before you went?
I genuinely can't remember.
Just thinking that actually, is that one of those where they thought, well, let's see him pay for it first. Let's see him back himself to that, and then once he's done that,
Joe, I flew to Malta. What more do you want me to do? I speak to friends about this a lot. I've got a few, most of my friends are still in corporate jobs, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There is something wrong with staying in a corporate job when you don't want to do it, though.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with staying in any job.
Yeah.
When you don't,
Very
whether it's
true.
corporate or not corporate.
Very true. And the way I kind of see life and try and approach life is, if there's something that I want, I'm going to try and go after it. And I fail a lot, but I'll try.
Yeah,
and I might look stupid, but
I think it's inspiring to see somebody not even back themselves, but to put themselves on the line there and say,
thank you.
I genuinely think it is. So very impressive. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, we've mentioned Binderr a few times, but
Sure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Binderr do and
I'll tell you exactly what they do and what kind of attracted me as well. So with my experience at Bloomberg, if you look at the history of Bloomberg and what made Bloomberg such a behemoth, before Bloomberg, firstly, this is the financial markets. Everything was kind of all over. So if you were in a bank and a trading floor, you'd have all these different systems. You didn't have kind of a flat structure when it came, or you didn't have flat structure, an easy way to do finance, for lack of a better way to put it. Binderr, I think Binderr's positioned itself really well in the compliance space. in terms of when you onboard a client at the moment, many businesses have this pain point where you have to use many different types of software. The end client experience is poor, and it's a lot of burden for internal compliance teams, risk teams, and that can expose your business to risk. The parallel I draw from Bloomberg to Binderr is the fact that Binderr puts this whole workflow into one ecosystem, which is exactly what Bloomberg has done in the financial space. And we're trying to make a behemoth when it comes to the compliance and risk space. And that excites me. And I never thought I'd be in compliance. I never thought I'd be in risk. I'm Italian. Like, I don't think it really lends itself in a way. But I saw that, and then I spoke to people. I spoke to firms, and the gap is there in the market. You've got lots of different softwares, and they're great. And I don't ever talk badly of other softwares, but what's lacking, and this is just just objectively, is they don't solve the whole problem together. And Binderr does that really well. The focus on the tech, the focus on the development internally as a business, that's genuinely what sold me.
Yeah, no, look, we've had a lot of interactions and on the software itself, and I agree with you. I think it's that holistic overview, and I think that's a really good comparison to the pre-Bloomberg and then Bloomberg era versus the pre-Binderr and Binderr, and hopefully in a number of years we'll be talking about Binderr being the behemoth and whatnot. So so you moved, well, you got the job, you went to Malta, you got the job, and then moved out to Dubai.
Yes.
So tell us about that. How was that move? What challenges did you find? Because a lot of people, especially right now in the UK, are considering their options when it comes to their residency.
Yeah.
So it'd be really good to hear from someone that's recently done that move. What challenges there were, but also the process, how you found it, all those bits and pieces.
So I was fairly lucky in terms of small specifics in terms of getting the residency visa, and these kind of things were solved by Seed Group and the partnership and our company. So I didn't have to really worry about that. In terms of actually moving, now it was actually a bit hectic for me because I spent some time in Italy before moving here. Basically went back from Italy a week before moving out to Dubai, and it just hit me because I've never lived this far from home. With 7-hour flight, it's very different to the furthest I lived before was kind of Italy, but those months here and there, or Manchester, which is it's a 2-hour train, right? It's very different, and I am really a family person. Yeah. So it did hit me all at once, but essentially I packed one suitcase. This is a typical young male thing, I assume. Packed one suitcase pretty much.
I'll buy the rest when I'm there.
Yeah, and just came. I was really lucky because with Bloomberg, I know some people here already, just a few, and got to stay with them for the start, sleeping on sofas. And then, again, all through networking, I met someone that introduced me to someone else that I'm staying with now. Really lucky to live on the Palm, which is incredible. And in terms of other things, so making friendships, I really put myself out there a lot. I'm the weirdo that will just speak to random people in the streets, in the supermarket. I just try and strike up conversation with anyone and everyone. Fair. And initially, it's worked so far.
Talking of the weirdo stance, our initial kind of interaction was around you being my stalker, right?
There you go. Yes, yes.
So you played.
I was trying to.
You played to the weirdo
brush
stance
that under the carpet
very well at the start. So yeah, look, have you always been an outgoing person? Have you always been that kind of? I don't want to say an extrovert because that's, I think that's an overused word sometimes though. But do you feel like you have always been an outgoing person, or do you feel like you had to push yourself into something you weren't used to when you came here?
I think I've always been fairly outgoing. However, moving to this is really random, but I read one quote about great leaders or something like that. I'm really butchering this quote, but it basically said that a lot of the greatest leaders they've moved their whole lives at some point, in terms of like relocated really far from home.
Right.
And that's one thing. I actually read it after moving. And another thing that I read, and I think this is in the last few months changed my mentality and made me even more outgoing, kind of like on steroids at the moment in terms of just go, just meet everyone, is actually a talk from Tai Lopez. And I know he gets a lot of slack, but he was talking about how one of the original investors in Facebook literally got the opportunity to invest in Facebook as one of the first investors just by speaking to his dorm buddy. And it was a dorm of like 16 people. This one guy spoke to Mark and saw this idea and made that investment, and God knows how much that is worth now. Whereas the other people who didn't go out their way and didn't just say hi, maybe are left in the dust, and maybe are thinking, oh, why did I not speak to that guy in that room?
Yeah. So I guess don't let opportunity pass you by.
Absolutely. There's no, I always see that, I see it as like, there's no downside to meeting people. The only downside is you can maybe lose a bit of time, but even then when you meet someone, you can always learn something.
And what would you say to those that find it a bit more difficult? It's easy for some people that, I say it's easy, that's unfair, but for those people that find it, there's serial networkers out there. There's people that just love getting out there and talking to people, and they kind of thrive off it a little bit. And there's other people, and I would actually say I'm in the category here where I find networking hard. I find it it's not something that I feel comes naturally to me, is that going into a room of a load of random people and having that conversation and trying to, to drum up a conversation. So to the people like me and other people out there, like what would be your advice in terms of networking? And
Sure. I think it's probably a lot about mindset. And I think this is why I've gotten so much, like I really think I've gotten exponentially better at this over the last few months, is because in my head, and this is what I was kind of trying to say, the mindset shift in a sense of coming here, knowing no one, forcing yourself to just meet people and it going well more often than not. I think my kind of bit of advice would be, one thing is to ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? It sounds so silly, but like when I said hi to you, the worst case you say bye. You just don't talk to me. But if you're in a room full of people, that's there's going to be someone that you can relate to. Connect with on some basis. That's one thing. Another thing is just kind of, I just try and go into it with like an open mind. Again, this is so easy to say, but trying, like, not overthinking. I meditate, maybe that helps. I do a lot of sport, that also gets you present to the moment and into that flow, so maybe that helps too. And then when I go to these networking events, I kind of get an energy from speaking to more and more and more people, and then you end up kind of bouncing across the room. And these are all contributing factors. So in terms of someone who's thinking how, like feeling really anxious about going into like a networking event, little side, okay, this actually, I've got a perfect scenario for it. I set my friend up for a blind date the other day, and she called me beforehand because she was very nervous to go on this blind date. And she said, look, I haven't been on a date in a long time. I feel really nervous. Do you have like any tips? And have you watched Four Lions?
No.
Oh, you've got to watch Four Lions. But there's a scene in Four Lions. So Four Lions is a hilarious film, like mid-2000s, of essentially these four terrorists.
Right.
But it's like done in a really comical way. One of the things the guy says to one of the characters, Waj, says to the other one, can't remember his name, but he says, look, you've got your wires mixed up, as in you're confusing your heart with your brain. And I said this to my friend. I said, look, you're confusing the emotion. You're not actually anxious. You're just excited. It's the unknown. And she was like, oh, that's actually a fair, like a cool way to look at it.
I like that.
Because there's they've done studies on this as well. I think it's like anxiety and like excitement, is essentially the same emotion, like chemically in the brain, but it's our perception of it that can change it. And so if you go into a room and you just generally, just by telling yourself, I'm not anxious, I'm excited, or I'm not nervous. I think it's nerves, actually. I'm not nervous, I'm actually excited. It's kind of like you're rewiring your brain.
It's reframing the thought process. So I really like that.
Yeah, it really helps me, because then, and if you do it over like time and time and time again, you start to think, oh, okay, this feeling is not a feeling of anxiety. Like, I don't feel anxiety anymore. And that's nice. But not everyone has that. But how I've got there, because I used to feel it much more, I've got there by saying to myself over time, this feeling, which used to be anxiety or used to be nervousness is not nervousness. I'm actually just excited to meet someone.
Yeah.
I might click, I might not. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Like you say, what's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah, no, I think that's a good attitude to have. And somebody else said to me, which I thought was a really good piece of advice, was when you go to an event, you put pressure on yourself to meet everybody in the room, everybody's business card, blah, 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 blah. And then you're overwhelmed with that feeling going into the room. And then you're also overwhelmed with the feeling when you leave the room that, oh, now I've got to follow up with all these people. Yeah. So they said to me, and you can pick this number, whatever number you want it to be, but they said to me, pick 5, you want 5 business cards, 5 really quality conversations. I messaged you before, but, and when you go into that room, that's your goal. So it's now not overwhelming, right? There's no pressure as such on your head, because you've only got to find 5 people that you find valuable that you can connect with. And also when you come out of the room, it's not intimidating, because 5 is a reasonable number. Yeah. But also the other thing they said, which I thought was super interesting, was if you hit the 5 people in 10 minutes, leave. Yeah, fair. So again, you're taking that pressure of, I've got to go to a 3-hour networking event. I've got to network with all these different people. What you're saying is, go, and it might be after that 10 minutes you met those 5 people, you actually go, do you know what? I'm actually quite enjoying myself here. And you get the confidence, and you stay a bit longer or not. Yeah. But you take away, because I think people have that pressure. Yeah, and you take away that pressure. So I think what you said there, I really like that in terms of reframing that nervousness to excitement. I've got another thing I wanted to add, because this and I think it really boils down to mindset. Another thing that's really helped me is, after speaking to someone that maybe, especially, I don't do it as much now, but I probably should, is let's say the conversation goes well or doesn't go well, regardless, just in your brain saying to yourself, that was not a 10 out of 10, not 100 out of 10. I say to myself, 1,000 out of 10. Because you've gone out of your way, you've introduced yourself to a complete stranger, you've tried to make a connection, you've tried to speak to someone, which is not easy. Not everyone can do that. No. And even just by trying, even if it goes completely tits up, that should deserve praise. Yeah. And if you praise yourself just for trying, it's like falling in love with the process, right? It really changes things. Yeah. So it's no longer, this one went well, this one didn't go well. They all go well because you tried. Yeah, and you did something that a lot of people don't have the courage or what not to do. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So I guess on that note of networking and talking to people, what are some of the challenges that you found in this area doing business? Maybe when you've been talking to people, maybe when you've been pitching to clients, like what have you found as some of the challenges? It's fun because it's a funny one. What I didn't expect is actually how slow business is here, from my experience. And maybe it's working with the risk and compliance or space. When I first came here, I literally wrote a LinkedIn post on this where I said, wow, the amazing thing of Dubai is how quick everything is. Yep. It can be 2 a.m. and I could say, I need a bunch of flowers. Yeah, anything, and it will arrive in 20 minutes. The setup when it comes to as an individual being able to get anything at any time is genuinely just wild, simply wild. You can do anything at any time. 24-hour dentists. Who goes to the dentist at 4 a.m? Yeah. But you can if you want. Apparently people do. Yeah, apparently you can if you want. That shocked me at first, how quick everything was. But doing more and more business here, I've realized, and just looking at my pipeline, these deals actually take a long time to close.
Now, maybe it's because I'm selling enterprise. Maybe it's because... But to be honest, my point is, I think it's like maybe a cultural thing.
Yeah. Do you think that's because, before I came here, a lot of people used to say to me, be careful of people wasting your time. People never say that to me if I went to London. But when I come here, people would say to me, be careful of people wasting your time. I haven't found that many people actually waste my time here.
Fair.
I've actually found that most people here are also conscious of their own time and don't want to waste their own time, personally. But that was the perception. Do you think that is a perception there maybe of businesses when they're trying to do business with, say, you or me or whoever it may be, that they want to first make sure that you're not wasting their time, you can actually deliver on what you say you're going to do, rather than just being another one of these salesmen?
Yeah, that's true. I actually think it boils down to trust. Because I was thinking this. We've got a team in the UK. They do a lot of meetings virtually. I basically do no meetings virtually here, and when I can, I don't. Maybe that's a personal preference, but people really like to meet face to face here. I don't know if you found the same.
I'm the same, 100%.
And
my first point to everybody is, if you're in Dubai, let's meet for a coffee. That's my first point, partly because I love coffee, but secondly because the relationship you can build is just totally different.
But that's the exact thing. And I this is maybe what I was saying. I think it's like a trust-based society in a way. I have not locked my house since living here.
Yeah, we joked about me locking my car, didn't we? Remember when I got out of my car and you said, maybe if you had a better car, you might lock it. But
but you have a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, I don't have a Rolls Royce.
I saw on your photo.
But even just now, my car's out there on the street, round the corner, the key's inside it.
Yeah, I do the same sometimes. And it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I think there's like an element of it's such a trust-based society.
Let's hope that my car is still there.
Yeah,
otherwise that really will be ironic.
Touch wood there.
We'll update this podcast if it's not there.
Yeah, it's just in the description.
Yeah. P.S. Joe's car was stolen. Carry on.
But my point was that I really think that there is like an element of trust, and the best way to build that trust is meeting people face to face. And the byproduct of that is sometimes these deals can take more time.
Just to add on that as well, I think the other thing here is this is a hub. Although I think there's a lot more people here that are here for longer now, it is still a hub of travel. So you do still get people coming in and out. And that isn't just people, that might be that, I don't know, the CFO of this business is flying into to this week and you'll have that conversation. Or it might be, that they're flying out to other events, but they're based here. But I do find that it is a hub of travel. So that is sometimes a challenge where you're like, we'll do this deal, but I need so-and-so to come and see you first, or I need, so-and-so to do this first. So maybe that's another reason that actually things are a bit slower, because actually the pace is so fast. Yeah, people are out doing so many different things that it sometimes getting a deal over the line is a bit more tricky. Which I think it probably plays a part as well. But I guess on that note, we're kind of talking about it as well. But any other kind of cultural... Not challenges, that's the wrong word, but any kind of cultural things that you've dealt with, and anything any kind of tips you might give people that are trying to do business in this area?
I have to think for that. I think having an understanding that things can take time is one. This is maybe a different one. Our co-founder asked me the other day, do we need someone locally that can speak Arabic? I said we don't.
You can hire me soon because I'm learning it.
That's true. Grade 5 Arabic, Duolingo Arabic. Yeah, be great in a boardroom.
Watch out for this podcast being in Arabic soon.
There you go. Something I've realised though is that lots of business the business language is English here.
It is, and this is an interesting point because
you're learning it.
I am genuinely,
and I'd like to learn it too.
And the question that the people I'm talking to about learning it, the question is: are you doing it for fun or are you doing it for business? And I was really interested that they were asking that question because, as you said, the local language of business here is English. I mean, like it is most places in the world. So it's interesting that they're saying that. But I just think if you are gonna this is a personal opinion. If you are going to a country or a region, and you say that you're there because you believe it to be the place for you to do business, etc., etc. I just believe in getting into the culture and
That's
therefore learning the language, and really kind of saying, look, I'm never going to be, the most fluent. Well, I say never, but you never know. But like at least having a basic understanding, at least being able to have a conversation.
Very true.
I just think it sets yourself apart.
Now I'd say I'm a linguist. I speak 4 languages.
I speak 1. Currently.
Which one?
Hopefully English.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Very interesting point. I'm also like timely because so I speak Russian and not fluently but decently. And on Friday, I went and I met a Russian individual that has he's a corporate service provider. So we sell to corporate service providers, legal firms and accounting firms and financial institutions, free trade zones. I should say that at some point. He's a corporate service provider and he's Russian. And I walked in. I could see there was some Russian writing on the walls, like generally in his office. And we started speaking. I started the conversation in Russian. Hey, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. And did the whole demo, went really well. And at the end, the coffee comes, you have like a bit of water, had some dates, like have like a actual chit chat. And we had a really good conversation. My Russian's not perfect, but half of it was in Russian. And that genuinely made a real difference in that relationship. Because now he's like, oh, well, in his head, I'm assuming he's thinking, oh, this guy, how do I put it? When you learn a language, you don't just learn the language, but you learn the culture and you learn the way of thinking. And you get a different level of connection with someone when you can speak their own language. Yeah. It's an instant rapport
and
builder.
It's a respect thing as well.
Completely agree.
On my side, anyway.
So with the Arabic thing, all I was trying to say is, don't let that hold you. If you don't have like an Arabic speaker, don't let it hold you back. Because you can still do a lot of business here. That's all I was trying to get at.
No, and I
it's
couldn't,
not needed.
But
it will 100% help. Because I want to learn Arabic too. So I'll be at that school. But it definitely helps. It builds that rapport. And
I think it depends on how much you want to invest in.
Yeah, it's true.
The area,
yourself at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
it's a skill that you'll keep with you.
And that's I know a few people that can speak multiple languages, and I learnt French at school. Yeah. Can't remember hardly any of it. Bonjour. That's about as far as I can go. So I think that's the other thing is I believe that the English culture is lazy. And we think, well, we don't have to, like when we go to Spain, un beer, por favor.
Una cerveza.
Yeah, but
it's very true.
But people will just be like, because they don't care. Yeah. They think, well, I'm arrogant enough to think that everyone's going to speak my language. Yeah. And if they don't, they need to learn it and understand me, because why should I learn their language? That is an arrogance about the British culture. And I don't like that. I like to be able to say, do you know what? No, I'm going into somebody else's environment, and I've made the effort to understand their language, integrate their culture, which is why I personally believe that places in the Middle East should try and keep as much of that culture that they have, because I believe that when everyone complained when the Qatar World Cup and there was less beer available than there may be in a British World Cup, but that's the culture. Yeah, it's true. If you don't like it, if you only go to football to drink beer, then you're clearly not that much of a football fan. So I just think that bringing yourself into the culture of a place, I think is super important. It's respectful to the place that you are, and I think local people wanting to do business with you are significantly more likely to do business in that area. So yeah, we're obviously on the same mindset on that. You mentioned 4 languages. I'm assuming Italian, English, Russian. What's the 4th?
Cerveza.
Beer. Beer.
Spanish. Yeah.
Is that the only word you can say and now you're fluent?
No, lo hablo bien.
Okay, great. So anyway.
Before this goes into Spanish.
Yeah. Cool. So, we've talked about, moving here, networking, some of the cultural things that you've learned. What about drumming up business? What about, I know we talked about networking, but what about lead generation? I know you've got this partnership with C Group, which obviously helps open some doors, but you've also got to do your own.
It's true.
Lead gen here. So how do you find that in this part of the world?
It's true. I'll touch on C Group briefly because I think listeners might find it interesting. C Group approach businesses for a partnership. If you go into this partnership, what then happens is you essentially get a relationship manager whose job it is to open doors for you.
Yep.
With like being new to the market, we've already spoken to some of the largest banks, some of the largest legal firms, free trade zones. To get the meetings that we've had would simply just take years.
Yeah.
And we've done it. I mean, we really haven't done it. It's been done for us.
Yeah.
The meeting's just set up for us. And that's been really helpful. In terms of my own efforts, so there's a few things. Firstly, online presence. So LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm building an online presence. That's why I'm also doing stuff like this podcast. Demand generation is one avenue. So building like an organic following in the space. Trying to position myself as a thought leader. Trying to just get my face out there. And that's actually already working because I went to a networking event the other day and someone said, I have definitely seen you somewhere. And I said, I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
And then he got up his phone. He said, I know it. Saw you on LinkedIn.
That's you. Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's really,
good.
really good. So that's why I keep hammering on LinkedIn. That's demand generation. Another thing is, so we're doing this is for Binderr as a brand, but we're doing a summit in 2-3 weeks. You're on it.
I am, yeah.
On the panel. That's
you wanted to go viral, so you got me on it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's why. We just want the best in the space, and that's you.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
So
definitely going to clip that bit.
Absolutely. So hosting things like that. So that's a 3-day summit. Fully free to join. Again, it's good for us because it positions us as a thought leader, and we're bringing together experts in the space to teach our audience about risk, compliance, operating procedures, how they can streamline their whole client onboarding processes. And there's there is like a genuine real added value for our end audience. So that's another thing. We'll be hosting more events. We said networking. I'm going to leave that. We were at Regtech. That's actually resulted in some leads. Then I also do so through LinkedIn, outbound activities. So I've done cold emailing. Hasn't been the best in all honesty. But I've then done cold emailing mixed with a Loom video, then with a phone call follow-up.
Yeah.
That's doing better. I also cold call when I have time, and that's going fairly well too. So the way I've broken it down is organic demand generation, which will take time to build. Outbound. So outbound is, like I said, just
LinkedIn.
Classic. Like there's the cold, the warm
Emails,
outbound. Yeah. Then you've got the networking, and then you've got events. So our own ones that we host and attending others as like sponsors or having booths.
Yeah, nice. And would you say most of your business is in Dubai, or is it actually wider? Because I know that you went to Abu Dhabi.
Sorry. In the UAE? In MENA?
Yeah, in the MENA, yeah.
In MENA at the moment, so I'm the only person in MENA. The plan is to land and expand, and we are expanding. It's actually going pretty well. I have been to Abu Dhabi a few times, trying to go there as well. But how do I put this? I want to expand the business, and I'll go where it makes sense to expand the business. I've got a call tomorrow with people in Saudi. I've got a call with people in Riyadh later this week. If it makes sense, I'll have a conversation. Again, it's like what I said earlier. There's no downside in having a conversation. Maybe I lose half an hour, and if something comes from it, great. But it's not my focus. My focus is the UAE and Dubai, because that's like quite a big total addressable market to start.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess so to kind of, finish on, I'm really like interested to get maybe, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but maybe a few takeaways for people in terms of like, because I think you're genuinely, like I said earlier, I think your journey is inspiring, how you've kind of pushed this, for yourself, and none of this has fallen on your lap. Like, what would you say to people that are sat kind of thinking, what, like, you know, not sure what's next, or, you know, where to go next, or what would be your takeaways for that?
So, I didn't actually touch on this, but it's very relevant. Something that I do is journal. In all honesty, I don't do it as much as I'd like to today.
How often do you do it?
It varies. I like it goes through ebb and flow. There'll be some like weeks where I'll just do it daily, and then I had a really chaotic weekend in a good way. But I didn't journal this weekend.
Yeah, okay,
and I was thinking today on the way here, I should really write down, right? Because it lets you process things. But that's not what I wanted to touch on. What I wanted to touch on is actually an exercise, which is probably helpful for the audience. Actually sitting down with your thoughts for half an hour, 1 hour, 10, 15, however long it takes, and writing down, it's so cliche, not where do I see myself in 5 years, but what do I want my day-to-day to look like? And who is it that I want to become as an individual? So I'll give an example. Who do I want to become as an individual? I want to become an inspiring leader. I want to have a big team that works for me, but it enjoys working for me. I want to lead from the front. I want to do a really good job at expanding Binderr. That's like what I want to do. And that's like the type of person that I want to become. So if that's the type of person I want to become, I need to then develop the skill sets, the character traits and the beliefs and the network to become that person. Is there anything I can do today that can put me in scenarios where I can get those things? And then breaking that down. So it's like reverse engineering it, right?
Yeah.
Skill sets, okay, just doing the job, like doing what I'm doing right now. Like even podcasts, right? Public speaking, that's something. Yeah. Character traits, that comes through all these things. Skill sets, character traits, beliefs, questioning your beliefs, having good friends also that actually like poke holes in how you see things, how you see the world. Reading books helps.
Yeah.
And then the network as well will help over time. That's one thing, who you want to become. And then what do I want my life to look like, I think is also really important. Last week, I had a meeting and then I had like a short gap. So I just went to the gym in the middle of the day. I worked late, so to me it doesn't matter. I'm like, it's the result that I'm after. But tongue in cheek, I called my friend because I know he wants to quit his corporate job. And I said, hey, where are you? Knowing he's at work. He said, I'm at work. I said, oh, where's your work? He said, where it is. I won't out him. And I said, oh, what are you doing there? I'm in the gym. So what do you mean? And I said, well, I thought you were going to quit your corporate job. I thought you were going to be able to have this flexibility and work or come into the gym when you want with me. And that was like a bit tongue in cheek, but I've genuinely spent time saying, okay, what is the life I want to live? Like day to day. Daily life I want is wake up, exercise, have a nice coffee. Then I just want to work. I genuinely enjoy working, meet people, maybe exercise again in the evening, have a good dinner, and then go to sleep and rinse and repeat that. And I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
I work on the weekends because I'm happy to do so. I enjoy it. So my advice is to spend time actually really crystallizing and clarifying what is it that I want to do, breaking it down and reverse engineering it, and then taking it step by step. And also a really big one is having a network, having good friends that want to grow, want to push themselves, want to push each other in a healthy way. And also that's like really inspiring.
I couldn't agree more on the kind of friendship network group in terms of like, you know, being around people that inspire you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean they're better than you either. It just means that they've maybe part of their journey inspires you, or what they are aiming to achieve inspires you. But, you know, being around people that inspire you, but also being around people that are similar to you.
Yeah,
I do think, when I say similar, I mean in terms of mindset, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And I think also, like you said, I think you said to me about mentors.
Yeah, mentors.
You know, I think mentors are super important as well, because I don't have one, but it is something that I've been looking at. A few people have mentioned it to me recently. Again, I just think it really helps align that mind. And I think we've said it a couple of times on the podcast, but mindset. is such
100%.
an important thing. We spoke about this in the car the other week when we went to that random horse stables for
horse
coffee.
Daughter and dad's.
Yeah. We were talking about the gym, and how at the moment I'm not going to the gym, and you kept questioning me, and I kept saying to you, I don't want to be questioned about this. And, not because I'm ashamed or because I don't want to talk about it, but I've actually gone through a lot of these thought processes in my head around the mindset of why I'm not going to the gym. My missus actually said it to me yesterday. She was like, you used to love the gym. I did this thing called Superhuman Games once. Like, it was ridiculous. It was where you had to do all these different challenges, and it was fucking hard. Like, it wasn't easy. And I used to love going to the gym, but I've got out of that habit, and therefore the mindset for me is I'm out of that habit, and I know that, I will get back to that at some point. Yeah. And I'm not beating myself up about it. I know that at some point I'll be like, right, I'm now back in that game. I'm back in that mindset that I want to hit the gym hard and all those sorts of different bits and pieces. So I think also don't beat yourself up.
Absolutely.
Is another thing. Let these things come right. A bit like the journaling thing. You haven't journaled all weekend. Don't beat yourself up about it. Start again tonight.
It is what it is. Yeah.
So
can I add one more thing as well on the, because I was really blessed to go on Friday through networking. I got added to basically +1 to a networking yacht thing, and this wasn't your typical networking yacht. This is part of a 3-day summit, 3-day summit series, whatever you want to call it, with genuinely really high level entrepreneurs. Now, granted, their space is more on like the kind of e-com online money space is how I'd put it, but it was so eye-opening. Because I spent time with them on this yacht. Now, this is just financially, but some of them are making like 50, 100, 200K a month, which is a lot. But you're speaking to them and they're just a normal guy. Yeah. So like financially, it's having like friends as well. I really love this, of like who break those like limiting beliefs, because we often place these like boundaries on ourselves that can hold us back. And not even just financially, but also just having someone that questions, like, you being able to say to me, like, why aren't you learning Arabic, right? They're just having that friendly dynamic, and it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of, I want you to crush it, and I know you want me to crush it. So
great way to end it, I think.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's great. Last thing then, I guess, is where can people find out a bit more about you and a bit more about Binderr?
Sure. LinkedIn is the best. Piero Ladhur, Piero Ladhur is my name. Binderr, Binderr. And the Summit Series, in case you're interested, that's 12th to 14th of November. You can find all the details on my LinkedIn. You can sign up there for free as well.
Yeah, we'll try and link all that in the description as well. So, Piero, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
And I'm glad we got to do this for the audience rather than just you and I this time. So, yeah, thanks for coming, and see you again soon.